Is there any give and take between you and the federal government, or does it just seem like the federal government is taking?
Is there any which, sorry?
Give and take with the federal government, or is it just taking?
Yeah, but in order to have give and take, you need to have a fair amount more, consultation that's occurring, right? And so, and we see, regional roundtables that are being set up to discuss, for example, just transition. Well, we don't want to discuss just transition because we're not implementing it in Saskatchewan, and so we can't actually sit down and take part in these regional roundtables if that's the juxtapose on what we're going to discuss at those tables. Volkswagen, Stellantis, they didn't sit at regional roundtables. So most certainly we won't be in Saskatchewan. That doesn't mean that we don't want to work with the federal government on investments, on innovations that ultimately are effective and effective in preserving jobs, creating and advancing that food and energy security that we provide for other Canadians, North Americans, and our global allied citizens, and doing so in a sustainable way. We're not recognizing as a national government, most certainly, and I would say we need to do a better job recognizing as individual Canadians what we're already doing in this nation. When it comes to food production, we produce some of the most sustainable food that you can find on earth, if not the most sustainable food that you can find on earth. When it comes to energy production, whether it be oil, whether it be uranium, whether it be an LNG, we produce some of the most sustainable products that you can find on earth, and we would do well to make those much more available to as many global citizens as possible and displace some of those dirtier products that are coming from much more unrestful places in the world. This policy development, flawed policy development, has been on full display in the European Union over the last 10 or 15 years, where you have seen the European Union literally sacrifice their energy security, relying on Russia for a third of their natural gas, their coal, and their oil. Have given up their energy security to a country like Russia, those chickens really have come home to roost over the course of the past year with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and so we in this nation, and this nation is what concerns me, but also the North American continent. We should not be marching down that same policy path of sacrificing our energy affordability and our energy reliability for an ideological target of reducing emissions. That policy will get us into the very same challenge that we see in the European Union today, and I would say that we should take a different path.
Well, what can be done today to capitalize on the situation between Russia and Ukraine to help those in Europe who could be using our energy?
Well, I think a number of things could be done, not so much to capitalize, but to support our allied global citizens in the European Union. One would be to have a very serious conversation about how we can get LNG to a port facility, whether it be in New Brunswick or wherever that might be. Providing LNG to the world not only helps them provide energy security from a sustainable allied partner, but will ensure that they won't be chilly next winter. Most certainly, and we are doing this from Saskatchewan's perspective, as we know all Canadian uranium comes from the province of Saskatchewan. We have seen Saskatchewan uranium companies make great strides, and with the support of the government of Saskatchewan, with our global trade and investment offices engaging in particular with Eastern European countries on transitioning some of the Russian fueled reactors to Canadian fueled reactors, as well as we saw now Cameco actually purchase alongside Brookfield Renewables Westinghouse, which is one of the largest nuclear service companies in the world. And so an exciting time from not only a business perspective, but an exciting time from a company, a number of companies in Saskatchewan that are producing uranium, really being able to lean in and provide support to our allied citizens in the European Union. We could do the very same when it comes to LNG supply. We just can't quite get past this conversation about how we're going to get LNG across the nation.
And lastly, in talks with Danielle Smith, what has come out of talks with Danielle Smith?
Danielle Smith, I think just talk about points that we align on. The the oil emissions cap or the oil production cap that the federal government has is, essentially, as I think we agree that we're capping some of the most sustainable oil that you can find on Earth, and we should actually be looking, and we do have a target to produce more oil by the year 2030 because we believe it should be available to the world to displace some dirtier sources of oil. I think you find Premier Smith looking at that through a very similar lens. And so discuss about, is there ways for us to advance CCS technology in that space to ensure that in 2030, 2035, we are still producing the most sustainable product that you can find on Earth. We've made some investments, substantial investments on carbon capture and storage. We're utilizing that in enhanced oil recovery today in that Weyburn-Midale oil field, benefiting a number of oil companies. And as I said, the only net zero oil company operating in Canada today is operating in Saskatchewan in that Weyburn-Midale oil field, utilizing carbon that's coming off a coal-fired plant in EOR, and there isn't enough off that coal-fired plant, so they're buying more from the North Dakota gasification plant. So you have a Canadian company sequestering American carbon and taking carbon out of each barrel of oil that's produced. Most certainly a good story, and an industry that we shouldn't look at capping. And so those are some of the discussions we have with Premier Smith, is how do we advance and preserve those industries, ensuring that they're going to produce more of this product that A is needed, B is the most sustainable on Earth, and how are we going to provide it and make it accessible to our allied global citizens around the world.